Mastering Local Marketing, episode 71. If you happen to be catching this on the radio, we're recording it on 9/12 on SEP 4, and you could actually call in at 219-845-1100 if you'd like. If not, we're going to move on and go straight to some of our topics with the local marketing guru, the digital local marketing guru, Matt Hansen. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, Jim. It's been a good week.
Are your video ads falling flat? Wondering why they're not pulling in clicks, customers, or sales? You're not alone. Many small business owners put time and money into video marketing content only to see little return. The problem isn't that video doesn't work. It's that most videos are missing the essential structure that drives attention and action. Are you guys listening out there? Good. All right, man. You guys got this. In this episode, we break down the key components of a successful social media marketing video, so your next post or ad will keep them sticking around for more. Do you teach this in your classes?
You know what, I do in some degree, right? So I was having a conversation yesterday with a student, and we were talking about social media and, you know, posting and ads and things like that. And too many times I sit down with clients and they create a video and they're going to run an ad, they're going to post something, and I look at it and I go, this is going to fall flat. Nobody's going to look at this. It's just going to, you know, it is what it is. And I provide the recommendations. I look at them and I say, you know, what's in it for the listener? What's the hook? What's grabbing them? I mean, you got to realize that this is a passive audience on social. And if you're not grabbing them in the first 3 seconds, they're obviously continuing to scroll. So that's always the issue. But I see it probably from 90% of the clients that I deal with. They go in and they just create some kind of video and they don't even give it a second thought.
Can we talk distribution first before we get into the actual ads? You are talking about a video ad on social media. To follow up our last episode, or one of the last 2 episodes, we talked about my digital, our digital sports video channel here. And we're getting quite a few new ads coming, and we've got to make the ads most of the time. Sometimes they supply from, like, say, if it's a union, they might get something from the international, or if it's a hospital, they may have already paid to get it done or something like that. And we do get that. But for the most part, we try to do them ourselves, kind of taking radio ads and putting them onto video. But now we've gone to more produced 30-second ads because the ROI for the client is way higher. And we tend to, if we spend $1,000 putting it together, we tend to keep them longer because of the ad. And that's part of it. We're not the greatest in customer service, but as long as that game is running and that ad is running on that game and the ad's really nice. So before we talk about that, you're talking about video ads that you pay to be on Facebook that you might post on where else?
Any of the social networks, right? So you got YouTube, you got TikTok, you got Instagram. I mean, you name it. We're talking about the videos that you produce, that you pay, or you don't pay. Even on the own side of things, where you're posting videos, realize that the amount of content that is being uploaded to these platforms is astronomical. So what makes you different? What are you the same as everybody else? We talk about, one of the first things that we want to talk about today is hooks and trying to pull people in, right? So as you're scrolling through, what is it that grabs your attention in those first 3 seconds as you're scrolling through? So what makes it different? How is it talking to that individual? What is the content that makes you stop taking your thumb and scrolling? That's what we call the hook, right? So it's got to be something that's relevant to the individual. It's got to be something that's shocking or out of the ordinary. And we'll discuss that a little bit more, but the hook is really what gets people to stop the scroll and to listen, and then we get into a variety of other things.
Length. How long should this video that you're going to post, either paid or free? Just look at Facebook. Facebook's probably the biggest for this. Or, honestly, if you put it before a YouTube video, and that plays also, and you can put it on all the platforms, but how long should it be?
I don't think there's an exact time on it. It's really, is the viewer getting value out of watching it, right? So I have watched ads that are 4 or 5 minutes long because they've got something that is speaking to me. It's a pain point that they're answering, whatever
It's
it may
about
be.
fences.
No, it's not about fences anymore.
All right, you finished the fence?
I think we figured that part out.
All right, good.
But it comes down to, are you getting some value in what you're watching? I will watch it as long as I'm getting value. So if it needs to be 3 seconds, it needs to be 3 minutes. It doesn't really matter on the time frame as long as people are getting value out of it, right? So again, this morning I was watching a few videos on something that that I was looking at. The first one was a minute long. I didn't get what I wanted out of it. The next one was 18 minutes long. It was too much, right? So I was trying to get bits and pieces out of it. It's great. I got the information that I needed, but I just needed something to get a quick idea of what it entailed, and I wasn't getting that, right? So it was all these different varying lengths, but really what I was trying to do, I was trying to solve a pain point and get the information out of it, and I wasn't getting that out of it.
So you're talking about a hook, and you're going through a scroll, or on my sports network, if it's a kind of a just a repetitive ad, people will just turn off the volume, or they'll wait for the game, or they'll scroll away from the game just to come back to it if it's bad ads. Mm-hmm. And we know that. So we've upgraded the quality and that kind of thing. But there has to be a hook in the beginning. Give us an example of a hook you like.
I think the greatest one that catches me all the time as I'm on social is, we live in Northwest Indiana, and I hear, "Hey, Northwest Indiana business owner." And it shocks me instantly because it talks to the geographic location that I'm in. Now many times it's irrelevant what they're selling and all that, but I love the fact that they're calling out your town, your city. Maybe they're calling out the individual type of company that you own. I love that because that makes me stop, right? So there's a variety of things like that, or we'll get into more, but those are the things I'd rather hear that to get me to stop than just scrolling through and somebody's telling me something that I may or may not find interesting as I go into it. But you've got 3 seconds to hook me. So hook me, and that, I love that one. I think that one's classic.
I get it all the time. I watch all the golf videos, all the new equipment, all the new learning things. I never buy them because any extra dollar here should go into a new camera or a new computer or something like that. By the way, if anybody has any extra PTZs, we could use them, or any extra cameras. We do, I don't know, I think we're doing 7 games on Friday night. So, you run out of equipment. So I'm always getting hooked on different types of golf equipment that I cannot buy. And all of a sudden, I get them all. And I know exactly Mr. Kawagashi, he is the best at it. He goes, "Do you slice?" "All right, there I am. You got me, baby." Yep. "All right, there it is. What am I not doing?" "All right, you're keeping your right arm too low, and this and that." "All right, I get it." But there is a hook. And then I watch the whole thing. John Daly does all sorts of instructional videos. So does Ben Hogan, and then they're all sponsored by something. But they all tell not just a little bit of value for me, but a lot of times they will tell a little bit of a story. Mm-hmm. Ben Hogan will say, "Hey, man, I learned to use my lower body playing basketball," and blah, blah, blah. John Daly will say, "Hey, I learned how to hit cleanly off of a tee by putting a bottle or a ball on a beer bottle," and then he tells a story about it. But there's a story there. So it's not just the help, but the story that will grab me. Is that something that's common? I'm Jed, and he is Matt Hansen. We're talking about making videos that convert. Remember the funnel. Awareness at the top. In the middle is consideration. At the bottom is convert. Okay? So you got to have a hook, and then you got to tell a story.
So the story, yeah. Well, so back to the story now that we don't have your clinking anymore.
She has never done that.
I know. I love it, though.
They always try to get my attention.
That was a power move there.
They try to get my attention by waving in the fishbowl over here. And
no, you guys were in a good conversation. I'm like, all right, the conversation's going to end in a second. So I was just like, all right, here's an opening.
All right, let's go.
All right, so back to the storytelling. One of the things that I always tell people is, I've been teaching for 20 years. And instead of lecturing you on a book and showing you PowerPoints and all this other stuff of, here's a definition, memorize this definition, I literally will provide content as to what we're talking about, right? So you say, you've got a slice, right? You have to go into a story at that point. I used to have a slice as well until I did this one thing, right? And you start to, you provide the pain point. You start to talk about the pain point. You start to agitate the pain point, right? You've been doing this
Remind
for
me
years.
that I'm shooting way higher than I used to
Right?
be because I'm slicing now.
You've got at least 6 strokes you can shave off if you just pay attention to this one thing I'm about to tell you.
Exactly.
I'm hooking you right there. Like you're
there it
in,
is.
right? There's the story.
I do not want to shoot 88 anymore. I should be at 82 where I have been for 30 years.
Right? I used to do that as well until I did this one thing. And let
There
me
you
tell
go.
you
You
how.
got me. You
right?
got me.
That's the story. We agitate the pain point, and then we go into the story of how we fixed it for ourselves or we fixed it for our client. And then we get down to the back end, right? So it's this story can be 1 minute long, it can be 10 minutes long. But what we're doing is we've got the hook, we've got the agitate of the pain point, and now we're telling you a story about how we're going to solve it for you, right? And that is basic storytelling. It doesn't matter if you're doing a commercial, you're doing, watch a movie at this point. They tell a story, they introduce the characters, they give you the hook, right? They agitate you with the enemy, whatever. There's always a bad person in the show, right? In the movie. And in the end, there's always somebody that comes to the rescue and solves the problem. That's what we're doing with this. So that's why we're trying to say, tell a story, get a hook, agitate a pain point, and then go out there and tell that story.
I am not texting my buddy about playing golf in like a half an hour. I'm looking to remind myself what CTA stands for in marketing, and I'm typing it in, and I'm getting a bad signal right now.
That would be a call to action.
Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Oh,
God,
my
how
goodness.
could I?
So
mean,
we
it's
need
so
a new
long.
co-host.
It's so
email
long
me.
since I did your classes that I'm like, CTAs. I can't even, I'm like,
Call to action.
you're my 6th interview today.
No, that's fine.
So it
I
is
get
what it is. So I apologize for that call.
Yeah.
All right. So you do have to
So-
have a very clear call to action.
Very
Why
clear
couldn't
call
you
to
just
action.
put clear call to action?
I
on there?
could, but I try to keep things to the acronyms that marketers use. So.
And I apologize there. I think I just lost credibility on this podcast.
Yeah.
But so what? It's happened
gonna throw
before.
Rowan
It'll
at
happen
that.
again. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, we tell the story. We have the hook. We agitate the pain point. We tell the story. And at the end, a lot of people forget to ask or tell people where to go, right? They assume that they're going to click the learn more button or something along those lines, but they don't throw out the call to action. They'll say, hey, click on this link, hit this button, let's get you started. By the weekend, we're going to have you shooting 8 less than you're shooting right now. It's Thursday, right? Let's agitate you a little bit more, right?
I'm playing today and tomorrow.
Okay.
And I want to go from high 80s to low 80s. And all I have to do is watch this video and then buy the piece of equipment they want me to.
Exactly. So
I'm
the call
done.
to action is pushing you over to a landing page, a website, whatever it may be. But you got to call it out. You got to say, and you just got to remind them over and over and over, right? Keep adding that call to action in there.
What about? So we're going to talk about something that we try to figure out here, and that's captions and on-screen text. And I'll give you the real-world case. Is that we're now building a 24-hour sports network, and we're building it to basically start at 11 so that it could play in bars. And then that when you go into a lot of bars, if you're not playing last night's game, which like Marquee Network, we were kind of modeled after that. What was the game last night? We had a soccer match. We'll just play it all day and mix some other stuff in. And then you'll get to some live action at nighttime. But when you're in a bar, you notice that many have their TV set to captions and on-screen text. So if you put it there in the video and then they put it there, it doesn't look right. So what do you do?
So thinking beyond just the bar, right? Let's think about this. you're sitting in an office, you're flipping through social media, you should be working, and you're watching video after video that are coming up. Can you have your audio on so your coworkers are listening to the fact that you're on Instagram or TikTok? Probably not, right? Maybe you're at home, you're sitting with your family, and you're flipping through your phone, and they're watching TV or whatever, and you're flipping through social media, and you're seeing video after video after video. Many times people don't have the sound on. I know personally I never have the sound on my phone unless I'm by myself, just out of courtesy, right? So I don't want my wife or my daughter or my son to have to hear whatever is going on my phone. So the captions allow me to look and see what is being said without actually having to hear it. So I'm reading the captions instead of the audio part of it. I think you'd be interested to find out how many people actually, that's how they view videos. And if you don't have the captions on there, what happens? You flip right past it because you can't hear it. So by putting the captions on there, it allows the individual that doesn't have the audio to actually hear it. So instead of taking an audience, let's say you have 100 people that watch your video, maybe 50 of them don't have the audio on their phone, they'll flip right past it because they can't understand what you're saying because there's no captions.
You hear that, Adriana? We've got to address this on, but I mean,
see, I love this podcast because we're creating a podcast. We're out on the radio. I've got your guys in the other room. I've got a producer over here. I feel like I'm multitasking. I've got 4 different audiences going on all at once. But it's funny because honestly, we're having these conversations and you're sitting here and you're doing this stuff and you have your business and you're saying the exact same thing. Like, we need to address this. We're not doing it.
Specifically, that problem of us putting the caption and then them put, you set your TV for that.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'll let you know how that goes. So what that really, it leads to the next part of this, in that we do a lot of ads and we see a lot of ads that come to us. And one of the ads that came to us was from a bank. And it wasn't, hey, this is so-and-so from First Bank and Trust, blah, 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 come down here and get a CD. No, it was just a person started talking, and that, I couldn't, and I think the first words were, I couldn't get a loan anywhere. And then I walked into blank, and there wasn't any graphics, or just told the story for like 29 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then it was, I think, filmed on a cell phone. And I'm like, man, how are they spending all this money to run this hastily produced spot? But then you started to look at it, and it had all the things here. Certainly hooked you. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get a loan anywhere. Oh, everybody's been there, right? And it just started telling a story. This is my business, blah, blah, blah. And the clear call to action was, I went to this bank, and you should really go because they'll understand your business. And then they're done with the spot. That was one of our most popular spots, even though it wasn't overproduced, but it was a very clear storyline, call to action, and very authentic looking, like that person did it in their, out on the field. They did work out in the field, and it was filmed outside. It was very authentic, but it was a little bit non-professional. Where's the balance?
Yeah, there's 2 ways to look at this. One, you have to test ads, right? So you can do professional ads. You can do kind of these shoot on your phone, back of the office kind of things. But really, it doesn't matter how it looks as long as it produces. So maybe you test one that's absolutely perfect and you spent a fortune, right? Like I've had clients that'll go out there and they'll spend $50,000 to shoot a 30-second spot. And they'll run it, and it's producing the exact same results as something that we shot on an iPhone 10, which we're on 16 at this point, right? Like, no difference. So you have to ask yourself, is that $50,000 commercial valuable to you over the one that we shot in an afternoon and then cut up on, iMovie on somebody's Mac and, produce it that way? Like, if you need perfection, that's fine. But what I tell everyone all the time is don't shoot for perfection. And that's probably the entrepreneur in me, the fact that nothing is ever going to be perfect. you're looking for results. And I was talking to a student yesterday. We were kind of talking about, this stuff, and they were talking about likes and all this other stuff. And I said, it doesn't matter how many likes you get. It doesn't matter how many views you get. It doesn't matter any of those metrics unless you're selling product or you're selling your service. And it was funny because he went, yeah, I guess you're right. And it doesn't matter if you have a $50,000 commercial that is gorgeous and is shot by some film producer, or you have something that's shot in the back room. If it's not producing, or if it is producing, run it. If it's not producing, don't run it. But just honestly, don't shoot for perfection.
I think that's lost. I mean, we actually had a big meeting here. We've spent 4.5 years building a digital streaming sports platform, and it was just a lot of money and a lot of resources. And all of a sudden, we get to the point where, hey, guys, we have to pivot. Instead of thinking about the build and market share and, MVP and all of these other acronyms, we got to flip.
Yeah.
We got to say right now, what is it that drives the whole business? And that is it. You got to think in terms of what's the monetization? What is the ultimate goal is to sell things for your clients. And once you start thinking like that as your own client, putting your stuff on social media or as a marketing agency, once you turn that equation around, it is a tough pivot, but that's kind of a front of mind thing that has to happen. And I'm sure that you run into clients that kind of don't get that at first.
No, they think everything has to be perfect. And
yes.
Yeah. I think the greatest example, and maybe the audience won't understand it, but you can look it up online. There used to be a commercial for an insurance company called Eagle Man. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
It was basically somebody dressed up in an eagle outfit. They were on top of a car. They laid an egg on it. It was the worst commercial in the world, but it has become a cult classic. And you ask anybody that's in their 40s, 50s, they will remember that commercial.
As soon as you play it, I'm sure I'll remember. If maybe our producer, who's very concerned about the clanking on this table, can find the Eagle Man commercial by the time we're done here. What do you think?
Yeah,
it's called Eagle Man?
It's Eagle Man. It's an insurance company. I mean, I can hear the sound effects in my head. It is so bad of a commercial, and you have to see the visuals as well. And she's laughing already.
Well, that's what a good producer can do, by
right?
the way. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is it is so poorly built, but it is such a cult classic, and it ran for so long because it must have worked.
She has it already. If you're listening, you'll just get the audio. If you're watching it, you'll be able to see this also. That's a YouTube ad, right? So why don't we talk during the 15-second YouTube ad, and then she'll put that on.
And she skips it.
Skip. They had poor hook. They didn't tell a story very well, and they don't have a very clear CTA, whatever CTA stands for. All right, you ready? Let's hear it. Here's Eagle Man. Oh, I know this one.
What's that?
Do you have insurance on this car?
No.
It must be Eagle Man.
I've got something for you.
Oh, look at those low rates.
How bad is that?
Could you do that in 20 minutes, Adriana? Could you make that ad? Well, they had to get an egg.
That's the thing where we would just ask somebody like a local theater department, hey, you got just like an egg? Maybe we could use it from the performance arts. They just did the story of Humpty Dumpty, so maybe they got an egg.
There you go. That's a high school.
That's a good idea.
Right? That's a high school project, essentially, is what it is, right? But that ran, I remember seeing that on Fox and ABC and all these other, that ran on TV for years. And when I say years, I'm talking 4, 5, 6 years, right? Obviously, it produced. It became a cult classic. It's, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Finally, a lot of different platforms, a lot of different sizes. You're up and down, you're horizontal, you're different dimensions. What do you say to that?
Just know the platform that you're putting the video out on, so you know which way to shoot, what are the dimensions and all of that. I think we see this a lot, to take it kind of backward in time. When you see an old rerun of some show on TV today, they're not set up to the TV dimensions that we have right now. So it's the same idea when you're putting ads out there on social. If you're shooting from your phone and you've got it up and down, realize how that's going to come across. Shoot it from a horizontal perspective, but just understand the dimensions before you actually get out there and start shooting.
He's Matt Hansen, a digital marketing professor at Purdue Northwest. We are on the campus of Purdue Northwest in the Strachan Van Til Studios. And thank you, Matt.
No, thanks for having me.
Until next time, we'll see you later.